Welcome one and all back to the LCS Challengers. We are in week 4. We're in day number 2, and we're in the second round robin. I am Mazel. I'm joined by Magical. I'm also joined by Joshi, who doesn't have an M in his name, which makes me upset.
I will improve. Moshi. We're going to call him Moshi for the rest of the day.
Moshi is the day. Can we please get that changed up production side? Yeah.
Moshi about this?
Anyways, Yoshi, are you ready to kick off some action?
I really wish you had said we are in week 4, day 2, game 0, so we could have had the whole blaze in it today.
Why? Why? It's leading him in the wrong direction.
Sounds like a great way to start the day.
We have no games. Zero.
Well, we haven't started one yet. What game are we on?
We're about to get to one here soon.
He does have a good point.
Thank you.
Hey, sometimes color casters have good points. Only sometimes, though. It's not
True.
Not that often. I mean, come on, let's be real. If we're being real, it's the play-by-plays who win all the game shows, who get all the analytical points.
You definitely won Pixel Perfect Fair and Square yesterday.
Yeah,
so
let's go. Oh no, that's actually incredible. But I will say we've had some incredible plays in the LCS Challengers, and we've also started up the Play of the Week category that we post on Twitter, and then we decide on the first day of the week every week, and it has been actually really cool. Not only do we get to see community interactions, a lot of your comments, a lot of your thoughts, a lot of your votes, but we also get to see our players doing what they do best and mechanically performing. So here is our Play of the Week for this week, and I hope you enjoy it.
Okay, I'm watching. It's okay.
I'm going.
It's good.
Okay, we got Ivan.
I'll call you Think about Ivan. No, okay, just chill. Front to back here with me.
Yeah.
Yep. I got him.
Charmin 3. I'm going.
3, 2, 1.
Yeah.
I have
Let's go.
It's Penta for me. It's Penta.
Yeah. Okay,
Penta, guys! Please!
Let's go!
That's what happened in that clip, by the way. I'm sure we'll get a little foreshadowing to that when we take a look at it later. But that was our Play of the Week, and it was a Penta for Perry. What a way to do it on the Kindred. But that being said, we've also had some, I'd say, some front runners here in LCS Challengers, just to go ahead and name drop it. But we always have the conversation of most valuable prospect, who we think is going to be that next LCS star who's going to be picking up all those wins for their organization as they get promoted. And it's always a tough decision. It's always a tough conversation because we have so many good players. And I think our color casters, while I was making fun of them earlier, do have some good analysis sometimes. What was that?
Plus Alex.
Big brain over here. Big brain.
Plus Alex, yeah. But we do have our video for the front runners. So I would love to go ahead and check it out. We can chat about it after. Let's go ahead and check a look.
Team Liquid's jungler Mir was voted most valuable prospect in spring and picked up precisely where he left off in summer, propelling his squad to a run even more dominant than the team's championship run in summer 2022. This split, his peers and coaches have both praised his ability to play carries and utility. He has seamlessly adapted to play around a different lane in a different meta, and the way that he is able to carry games just speaks for itself.
Alright, now let's talk APA. APA has been a standout in his second split. His laning has improved, and he has the highest gold difference at 15 in his role to show it. And the advantages he creates lets him move and impact the map, earning him the highest first blood percentage amongst mid laners, all of which make him a critical part of TLC's early game. His champ pool is not only deep, but he has also influenced the meta, drawing 6 of the 8 bans Cassiopeia has in the summer and all of the Twisted Fate bans.
Keel has been having the best split of his career, and that is after having already played amazingly in spring. He is second among junglers at gold diff at 15, but not just from farming up to that. By being a part of 50% of the team's first bloods, he gains leads for the team early that he then pivots into playing with the team later. With Keel at the lead, Wildcard has the highest Barons per game as well, picking up Barons 77.5% of the time. No one can out-teamfight Wildcard while Keel sets everyone up on the team for success.
If I had to cast my most valuable prospect vote halfway through the split, I'd vote for Fake God. He's been the best performer in his role, even leading the league in gold differential at 15 at a whopping plus 753. But what I've loved the most is his consistency out of lane. Fake God always seems to be taking the right angles and choosing the right targets, which has led to him making nothing but good plays. LCS fans might be surprised to hear this, but NACL fans won't be when I say he deserves another shot at the big leagues.
So those are our MVP frontrunners. Some very likely
For now.
candidates there, Joshi. For now.
I mean, we still
I'd
have
love to hear that.
an entire second half of the season to play. And
Not an entire, because we already had some yesterday.
all right.
So
Well, we have
technically,
almost an
Let's go ahead and get the technicalities out of the way,
yeah,
right?
exactly.
Like
gotta make sure that
results-based analysis here.
yeah, we got. Hey, I don't want to lie to the viewers out here, Josh. I'm being honest with them.
I love lying to the viewers.
Oh wow, just like that. But anyways, do you have any additional thoughts on any of those, or maybe some names that maybe didn't make it to our frontrunners list that you'd want to talk about, Joshi?
I mean, I think there is kind of a whole crowd of players right beneath what we were talking about who are still looking to find their way right on up. And a lot of them happen to be AD carriers. I feel like Arrow, Masu, and King in particular are all players that could have made it on that list, but it's hard for us to pick just one. If we were going to pick any of them, we were having discussions like, well, we kind of got to talk about all of them if we talk about any of them.
I don't know if you have any deep thought analysis there, Mr. Color Magical, as we'll get your play-by-play
Josh is
cap
missing
going later.
Lens on that list. I will say right now, I think Lens also deserves to get on that list. The guy's been, he was playing amazingly in spring, still playing amazing now. I just think that Keel has been really having the best split of his life, so it kind of does outshine Lens just a little bit. But he is definitely, there's a lot of marksmen that we could talk about in this league that all are looking fantastic.
I love that you talk about him because we're actually going to get to see a lot of him today on this channel. We are going to take a look at our standings, though, as it is still a lead horse in the race and Team Liquid Challengers above everyone else. Now 4 games separating the next highest, but it is about the little pack that we have in the 2 through, I'd say at this point, 4 section with DSG always having to come back. My biggest surprise, though, and I don't know if you want to talk about it a little bit more, though, MU 10-10, where they were in the beginning of the split. It's pretty awesome, Magical.
I think that's great, and they got a 1-1 split yesterday against TLC, taking down the first place team, and honestly, I thought they were going to get a 2-0 because in game 1, they had such a massive lead up against TLC, but there's a reason why they're our #1 team, even when behind early, find ways to pull out these wins through macro. But MU definitely, I think, are upsetting a lot of expectations coming in from them into the split. We look at how they've really been performing, and I got to give them a lot of credit, especially when I look towards like the top side of the map. Niles and Odd Orange definitely have that really good duo with one another, but then Get Back yesterday really played so well against APA, who is someone we were praising as one of our MVP front runners. Well, Get Back's just like, hey, I'm just as good. Let me go solo kill him at like, what, level 3, diving by himself just to get the kill?
True. Joshi, quick thoughts. Any point outs?
I mean, I think you already touched on it, right? Maryville has been performing a lot better than I think most people were expecting. And of course, it's been interesting to watch how Wildcard, every single split, it feels as though people are underrating them, including us. And every single time, they start off the first round robin last time when they beat Cloud9 Challengers for the first time. We're like, wow, we got to take this team seriously. Now, this is a time for them to continue showcasing that they are, in fact, one of the best teams.
Maybe you guys are underestimating Wildcard, but I'm not. I think I've always been putting Wildcard in my top 3 for this entire split.
All right, well, no doubters here, I guess. We do have our schedule, though, for the day. We have 3 best of 2s ahead of us, and a lot of those ADCs we'll be keeping our eyes on. We got Fear versus Evil Geniuses Challengers kicking us off, then Disguise versus Team Fish Taco, and FlyQuest Challengers versus Team Liquid Challengers. I don't know, I feel like that's a match of the week status going on right there, but we have some really fun ones ahead of us. But speaking of ahead of us, we do have to look at our first best of 2, and it is a tightly contested one. It is one that I expect a lot of fireworks going through, and it is Fear versus Evil Geniuses Challengers. And this Fear roster has looked legit, and Shochi showing up on the weekend here, Joshi.
Yeah, I mean, finding another pentakill would not be surprised. I mean, it was only day 1, but that's pretty tough to beat in terms of what you're actually going to get for play of the week. We might get another bit of audio coming through from Cincinnati Fear in the near future. These guys have been firing on all cylinders, and this is going to be another opportunity to showcase that they can continue to be the bar. They have been so consistent, and at least the way that they've been beating teams.
There's also a really good pentakill from Shochi too. Like parries, the fun thing about it was the clip they had with everyone yelling, but it was a pretty straightforward pentakill, right? He just was auto-clicking everyone. Shochi was dashing away everywhere, jumping all over the place, getting these kills.
Yeah, absolutely. It's really fun to see them kind of working and meshing well together. But we did have a bit of a royal welcome yesterday, all right? I made a graphic and everything. We had Surdy coming back into the league and coming back to Evil Geniuses Challengers. We'll go and bring out that roster. It was not the outing you would want to have as a first hello to the league, as a welcome back, but it was a struggle for Evil Geniuses Challengers, but it is a roster that shows a lot of promise and that they have a lot of confidence in Magical.
Surdy looked fine. I think he did a great job. Unfortunately, there's just only so much you can do, especially when you don't have like the synergy with the rest of the team. King, I think, is also still performing incredibly well, and it's almost unfortunate to watch EGC lose because how well King is playing and just not getting enough praise because of it.
Yeah, it's been a little bit tough, especially when he's like, actually say he's another one of the ADCs that you mentioned earlier in our kind of secondary conversation about MVP frontrunners. But there is a front-running conversation right now across the league, and it is the absolute nutty conversations that happen in Fear's roster. So we actually got to talk to JJ and hear a little bit of the background, and then we'll hear the whole picture of it. Let's go ahead and check it out.
I think it's definitely kind of mixed. I would say when it comes to like macro, I have like the biggest voice, or in terms of like the little things like lane assignments and like what we're playing for, but people definitely pitch in. I think Minui also like calls quite a lot for objectives and whatnot, and everyone else pitches in a little bit. But I would definitely say me and Minui are the two most vocal people, and then Perry maybe like third. But I think we all pitch in, which is a good thing, but also kind of a problem because then like
you end up screaming on the comms.
Yeah, we're just all talking over each other sometimes, and it's kind of bad. But if push comes to shove and I'm really certain about something, I've learned, like, especially with this group of guys that are all younger, like, I really need to put my foot down sometimes. And, like, last week in one of our games, I literally told everybody to shut up and just listen because everybody was just screaming different things. So I think it's been nice for me to realize that I can't, well, sometimes I have to do that, but it helps this team for sure a lot.
I actually really appreciate that perspective and being able to put a cap on things when you need to, but specifically that leadership and the fun that they're having with it. It's always so crazy. And I know we made the noises earlier, but we got to hear straight from the actual clip, right? I really love to see the team kind of meshing together. Even JJ saying sometimes you got to tell them to shut up. But we actually get to hear them popping off themselves as we're going to go ahead and send it over to our Perry Penta, and it was our play of the week.
Okay, I'm watching.
Watching. It's okay.
I mean,
Fight.
I'm fight.
It's good.
Okay, look at Ivan.
I'll call you Charmin. Think about Ivan. No, okay, just chill. Front to back here with me.
Yeah.
Yep.
I got him.
Charmin 3. I'm going. 3, 2, 1. I have
It's Penta for me. It's Penta for me.
Yeah. Okay, Penta.
It's Penta,
guys! Please!
Let's go. Okay.
Let's go.
For people who have been watching from the top of day, don't worry, we will be playing it at least 2 more times before we get into the draft.
At least. I have it on my checklist.
The big thing that I always love listening to with Cincinnati Fear is just how chaotic their comms really are. It just kind of shows that everybody on the team is willing to speak up all the time. And one of the things that we always got to look at is people have been saying that they've been inconsistent because you can't hear what people are saying, but hot take, they're actually the most consistent team in the entire league. Let's see how tall you need to be in order to be in the top half of the standings. You need to be at least as tall as Cincinnati Fear.
Josh,
now, this
did you
was
deep fry this?
We'll continue to deep fry it. Cynthia, if you could actually continue to turn the saturation up as we talk.
More
But the thing about
saturation.
Cincinnati Fear is they have beaten everybody beneath them except for Team Fish Taco 2-0 so far. And they've lost to everybody above them except Maryville 0-2 so far. And they have been 1-1 against the 2 other teams. These guys have been a team that is super, super consistent in at least the results that they have been getting so far. And this is going to be an opportunity to see if Evil Geniuses with
We're going too far.
Joy.
It's been deep fried for years.
Thank you, Cynthia.
Shout out to producer Cynthia.
I love it too because it actually matches the colors of Cincinnati Fear.
It does.
So it actually works even better, like twofold.
They're the only color that like didn't change.
But yeah, kind of talking about Cincinnati Fear, right? I think that it is a good point. That I'm with you, Josh. I don't think they're inconsistent. They're right there in the middle.
Consistently inconsistent.
But are they though? Are they consistently inconsistent? I just don't think they're inconsistent. I think that they're beating the teams that are below them, and they're losing the teams that are above them. They're right where they deserve. If that's going to be the case, they're perfectly consistent.
Hey, consistency can be key. There was also a little bit of consistency yesterday in the fact that EG lost 0-2. And I think it was an interesting thing to kind of look back into Magical.
Yeah, I mean, when you look at how EG have kind of been performing yesterday, we're kind of wondering, how are they going to perform with Surdy? Are they going to look a lot better? And sadly, they just didn't. They looked really disjointed. They weren't all on the same page. I praised King, and I think King was doing all right, but there's only so much you can do as one player, and same for Surdy. He was consistent. He did fine for the team, but the rest of the team just wasn't on the same page. So when they look for a lot of these plays, it just seemed like nobody was communicating. No one was really talking, and that's why we were kind of wondering, are they above the bar of Fear or are they below it? Well, if you use the last time they played in the first part of the round robin, they lost 0-2. And those games, sure, there were moments, there were glimpses where EG looked all right. For the most part, it just seems that they kind of are where they belong, which is below the bar of Cincinnati Fear.
I will just say, Lynx's Ziggs made things a bit unfair, all right?
That is fair, too.
But it was an interesting foray into what can be a nice little run for EG, but it started off rough. We'll see if they can bounce back to some extent, because I do believe we have draft ready to go. So we'll kick it away for game number 1, day 2. Let's see what happens.
All right, thank you, Lennon. We'll see you on the other side for the Rally Cry halftime show, but getting into game 1 here, Cincinnati Fear over on the blue side. And like we we're kind of saying, Josh, even if they are like the bar, they're going up against EGC, who are in a 3-way tie for last place at the moment.
Yeah.
They have not been looking consistent. They haven't been looking good, and they made this swap up, bringing in Surdy a sole step down from competitive. And this is where we got to kind of ask ourselves, is that enough? Is that enough to kind of fix the problems that EGC has been having?
No. I think it was very easy for us to just attribute so much of Evil Genius's problems in the first half of the split to the fact that their top laner was struggling. Love Alex, great guy. His gameplay was not quite there, but now as Surdy comes in, we know that this guy has been one of the best laners in his time in the Tier 2 ecosystem, and now coming through, he actually had some of the best laning stats yesterday of everybody in the league. But this is going to be one of those opportunities where we now need to see how deep do Evil Genius's problems go, because so far it definitely looks as though the beatings are going to continue until morale improves.
At least we'll see, because right now going up against Cincinnati Fear, they have taken away some powerful picks that that Fear do like to go for, such as that Tristana that Shochi was 17-1 yesterday. That was, I think, the most kills we've had by a single player in the summer split so far, by a large margin with a pentakill on top of it. But a big thing that has been left open, you talked about Lynx and how good I think Lennon actually talked about how Lynx looked really good on the Ziggs yesterday. Well, we know that Manui and Shochi both like to play this. This is something that they can swap between the two, and that has been left open, not banned by either side. And even seeing that Ryoma going onto Azir like he had yesterday, and even grabbing Poppy, which could be flex for Surdy, but more than likely going to be for Shaden.
Yeah, and this has been Shaden's one of his best champions so far throughout his career. One of the few tanks that he has showcased a lot of presence on, especially because of the amount of dueling power you have early on in the game as this champion. And we also got to see that Ryoma on this character yesterday was being very, very aggressive kind of across the board in the way that they were trying to play. But I'm actually very surprised to see that this Renekton is coming through relatively early on. They're already building a very strong front line here for Cincinnati Fear, but they're going to have a little bit of trouble actually getting through all of the tools that Evil Geniuses have already drafted in the Azir Wall and the Steadfast Presence. Shochi, Harry, Philip, all going to try and struggle, and oh no.
Man, I love this from both sides. They're really going blow for blow here. Getting the counter pick for Shochi in this mid lane with Yone, which I also love because they have Sejuani, so they have double melee in top and mid. But then Surdy picking the counter pick in this top lane against Renekton that we've been seeing. Rich played it. We've seen it in the LCK. We've seen it in the LPL. Quinn, Surdy getting his chance. And this is awesome to see because Surdy, you talked about having some of the best laning stats yesterday. Well, Quinn, not like some of the tanks that he was playing, like the Cassante, actually has a lot more agency to impact a lot of these fights.
Yeah, and we also got to see, like, I think you brought up, Zamudo was playing it yesterday, and it is so oppressive. But I do think that the order in which Cincinnati Fear drafted this is weird, right? The fact that they are already picking up the Yone right now, it's not something that they've really drawn a lot of bans on before, and we see that Evil Geniuses are like, well, Alex, Cincinnati Fear don't do any magic damage in their entire composition. What if we ban away all of the magic damage sources in the bottom half of the map? There are still some champions that Manui can play, but the Seraphine's already taken off. The Karthus is gone. Now the Ziggs is gone too. And I'm a little bit worried with Shaden on this Poppy and an opportunity for Smoothie to play something tanky as well. How do they kill the front line? They are already super committed to saying, well, we're never going to kill the front line. We got to dive into the back line already, and they're going to have trouble doing that too.
Yeah, and I think that's going to be the big thing for Fear, is getting onto this back line. They have to do that because, like you said, you're not really going to do much to Shaden. He's going to be a big force in front of everybody. And now they got Smoothie onto something like Nautilus. You talked about another frontliner that could be useful for EGC as well. It's a good tool of kind of denying you from getting those flanks. A good hook that lands or depth charge into the backline can completely disrupt the game plan for Cincinnati Fear.
Yeah. I definitely feel as though Cincinnati Fear have put themselves in a very tough position. They are just going to go with a regular marksman, and JJ hovering this Braum is very good in the laning phase into the Nautilus, and so Cincinnati Fear have at least drafted themselves two strong winning lanes in the Yone into the Azir and the Aphalos Braum into Nautilus. Plus, honestly, anything that King can choose to play from this position is going to be better for Fear, but it is going to be this top lane, which is a massive liability for Cincinnati Fear. If Surdy is able to leverage some of the laning strength that we know he has in one of the hardest counter matchups that exist in League of Legends, Cincinnati Fear can just collapse in the top half.
Yeah, and honestly, I'm going to look at how not just the top side of the map does for Cincinnati Fear, but how JJ does outside of the lane phase. Like you said, going to be very powerful in lane, especially because we have scaling on the side of EGC. You have an Azir, you have Jinx, both of them want to get to those two item spikes to really feel powerful, but you have to contend against the power that is coming from the top side of EGC with the counter pick that Surdy gets here against Renekton. And Renekton, something that is meant to really win out in the early game all the way up until level 9, it's going to force Perry to hang out in that top lane, which means you have avenues to kind of attack mid lane, attack bot lane if you're EGC.
Yeah, and the thing is the composition that Cincinnati Fear have drafted for themselves puts a ton of pressure on their mid lane, right? If Shochi is not doing well, Cincinnati Fear don't have a lot of tools to be aggressive elsewhere on the map. He is not only their one easy answer into Quinn in terms of the split push, but he is also their primary way to get on the back line of Ryoma and King in order to use that ultimate in order to catch out the Azir and the Jinx. If he's not strong, if he's not able to do either of those jobs, Cincinnati Fear don't have an easy game plan.
Well, look at this, though, Josh. Some shenaniganeries abound in the top lane. Fear, they're bringing everyone here to this party to look to put Surdy behind right out of the gates. And that's something I love to see. Whenever you draft a Braum, go for these early invades. Look for these early plays because how powerful he can be to a lot of these. But Surdy was able to spot that out, and he just completely pounced the long way around, not even giving an avenue for Fear to find anything.
Yeah, I mean, just catching everyone there. But Evil Geniuses, I'm actually really surprised that Smoothie, having seen at least 2-3 members on the top side of the map, not going for any kind of vision invade, not even putting something down on the Raptors. But I do like the fact that JJ committing the ward towards the top side of the map, putting it in the lane, helping out Philip and his ability to stand relatively aggressive. We did see that Surdy on this Quinn does have the cleanse, does have the fleet footwork, very difficult to interact with for Philip, but at least this time around, we see that Surdy not able to bully Philip before the lane even starts, like Zamudo is doing to Quacker.
No, and Philip even looking like he could maybe put a little bit of hurt back onto Surdy, but we'll have to keep our eyes on that one because he has kind of snuck his way in, but he has been spotted out. If you look at the mini-map, that was just the Volt back, getting a little bit of poke back onto Philip, which is kind of expected. This matchup is so hard for Renekton, and we don't expect Philip to really be able to do anything. Anytime he tries to step for the minions, that's just what's going to happen. He's going to take most of his health, and he's going to try to call the Meek to heal back up the best he can before he gets poked out again.
Yeah, I'd be really curious to see how Surdy ends up playing this one because we know, he's a very aggressive laner. Yep. This is something, like, even when you talk to him during, like previous playoffs, he is constantly sitting and evaluating micro interactions in the top lane. But it's mostly in terms of laning. He had a long conversation about how he had underrated Gamsu for years because Gamsu is not the strongest laner, but his ability to play later on in the game wasn't something he had even really thought about to the same degree. And this is a big opportunity for Surdy to just bully Philip to the point of potentially diving them on this next wave.
And I like that from Philip, realizing that too. He put down a ward on the other side, not where the tri-brush is, just to make sure that if Shaden does look for that play, he'll know well in advance so he can book it immediately out of there. Because he is not going to get any sort of comfort in this top lane. It's going to take some time. And it will really, I think, depend on if Shochi can get out of this lane, not just Perry showing up in the top lane.
Yeah, well, look at where the junglers are. And Shochi, a lot of damage.
Yeah, he took a lot more damage than he was able to actually do to Ryoma. Now, there it is. This is kind of what we expect, but Perry is nearby. Gonna be spotted out, pulled back in. That was smite secured by Perry onto the Gromp, but Shaden, the dueling potential of Poppy, really hurting Perry. He will get the stun and dash away with the Arctic Assault, but that Sejuani forced out, and I wouldn't be surprised to see Shaden go to the top lane.
Yeah, I mean, that's a lot of HP that Shaden did take, but the big thing here is that as Philip's wave pushes out, he's in a really rough position there as well. And now they know exactly where this Poppy is in the jungle. Philip can fight that character. Philip just can't fight the top lane.
I don't know. I don't even know if he could fight Poppy at the moment. Look how low Philip is at the moment. While Shaden was able to heal up pretty effectively, even sealing away blue buff from Perry. That would have been a big hope there for Philip to be able to duel against Poppy this early on when he is so chunked out.
Look at this coming out from Perry as well. After clearing out his bottom side of the map, he is still going directly towards the top lane. He knows the crowd control is so good between these two characters.
Bot lane, a little bit of skirmishing happening, but top lane, as you called out, Perry is hanging out, but with how low Philip got right there, that could have easily been death for him. Perry has stuck his way, but he's spotted out. Trying to get the slow, but it's going to be the Volt back with the stun, cleansed away, the flash as well. Shaden to protect, the flash away from Philip to get away, but that's going to be the dash forward, heroic charge, not enough to pick up the kill onto Philip. Instead, Perry denies, getting a lot more damage back onto EGC, keeping them at bay, but nobody falling. Only is going to benefit EGC because they got a fat minion wave here top.
Yeah, and this is a really tough position, right? Perry is desperately trying to get this wave in. Philip has to teleport back. I love the look coming through, but Shaden's still around to make sure nothing happens there. Meanwhile, on the rest of the map, we were saying that these are supposed to be pretty good lanes for Cincinnati Fear, right? Manui and JJ still holding mostly even in the bottom lane. Shochi at the same time in the mid lane. This lane is going to get worse and worse for Azir, right? The fact that he hasn't built up a lead yet is not concerning. But now, JJ's mid.
JJ's mid and Smoothie's top. We get the flash away from Arioma. Top lane, we're seeing a little bit of a skirmish too. They got the stun onto Surdy. He's low, and it's going to be first blood for Philip. The Croc eats the bird, but they're going to lose the boar at the same time as Smoothie's Ignite takes down Sejuani.
That's a huge commitment of time coming out from Perry, but we said this is the one place on the map that you need to try and shore up. The rest of the map should be fine. Both junglers spending so much of their time up in the top side, and at least gets Philip the first blood, which reduces a lot of the issues he was having before.
Ooh, Shochi got chunked out again by Ryoma here in this mid lane. And so kind of going back to that top lane play, Smoothie showing up in the top lane will definitely help out a lot with this play to make it even. But the fact that Surdy dies before Smoothie is able to really show up is, I think, the big problem for EGC.
Yeah. the fact that this goes down relatively early is always going to be something that you're really going to have to look at, because we have been seeing Perry, they tend to commit much more heavily towards the mid lane in a lot of their previous wins, but it's an adaptability coming out from Cincinnati Fear that, based on what we were hearing from JJ, we always know that Minui and JJ do most of their macro calls, but Perry very, very vocal in the early game, trying to make sure that he can prop up his lanes properly.
Helping out that top lane at least a little bit. It's not really going to alleviate everything, because it's still the Quinn-Renekton matchup. And you can see how, with that one kill, yeah, it's nice. You're still down about 12 CS, even if that's a nice big minion wave that you're going to be able to capitalize on afterwards. You're still going to struggle for some time. So I want to see Perry maybe go somewhere else. Say, yeah, you know what, the Renekton going to struggle for a while. What can we get elsewhere? Can they help Shochi get out of this lane and start moving around the map?
Well, we did say that is one of the biggest ways for Cincinnati Fear to make sure that they have play, right? Shochi is their split pusher. He's also some of their main engage. He's doing a decent job so far in the mid lane. As we saw with JJ, they did get Ryoma's flash. When Perry gets level 6, that's when I'm really looking for him to potentially spend a little bit more time in the mid lane in order to help Shochi out there. Because before that, you don't necessarily have the consistent enough lockup. Shochi's ultimate is just not a fast enough skill shot.
Yeah, true. Right there. See the damage that Shochi can do to Ryoma, but taking a lot himself. He's got to be very cognizant of that, because if Ryoma wanted to put him back, pull him underneath the turret, Perry is only level 5. That's going to be the big thing. You called out that. You still have the Shurima Shuffle. That's going to be the flash in, and Effort Divide does nothing to stop Shochi and picking up that kill for Perry.
Great play coming out from Shochi, just absolutely taking care of this match. We are seeing why this was picked as early in the draft as it was. Evil Geniuses still devoting resources towards the top half of the map. Shaden is going to be starting up the Rift Herald. It looks as though the rest of Fear have some idea that that is going on. They are going to be chasing him off. And now, so far, it looks as though Cincinnati Fear have done a really good job mitigating a lot of the issues they were having before, right? We were seeing that the top side was going to be a liability, and now it also looks as though some of Evil Genius's early plays might be in a really tough spot. This was a truism in spring, it's a truism in summer. Whenever Shaden's early ganks don't get him kills, he tends to struggle. We tend to see Evil Geniuses slowly become more and more desperate, and now Ryoma still has no flash.
So no flash, and this time with the ult, it's all too easy for Fear this time, and Shochi even gets the kill credit for it.
Yeah, that's really, really good for you. Cincinnati Fear, right? Making sure that they have so much control. And it definitely feels to me, Alex, as though Shochi, over the past week in particular, the past 2 series, has been playing out of his mind in terms of what he has been able to do. He's been looking so good every single time. He popped off on the Tristana yesterday. Now he's looking to do it on the Yone as well. Really is living every single part of his anime protagonist arc.
He really is, and knowing Shochi as well, if you haven't seen, he's very active on Twitter and has some unhinged tweets, I think is a nice way to say it sometimes.
Yeah, you mean awesome tweets?
I didn't say that they weren't awesome, but they are unhinged. But he loves to embrace the anime protagonist personality here in this mid lane. And I think how Fear have kind of built themselves around him, especially after having lost Trevor in the offseason, it has seemed more like Shochi has become kind of a star for the team, with Perry really there to help build him up.
Yeah, and insane point at this point, actually, Alex. Philip is up in CS at this point.
That is kind of crazy.
Yeah, that is a big testament to how effectively Perry has been putting pressure up on the top half of the map. This is actually one of the latest dragons we've had this entire split, as they are doing the Cloud Dragon at 10 minutes into the game, right? This is going to be giving so much extra help to teams like Cincinnati Fear, just because they've already got all their win conditions online, right? Minui and JJ are totally fine. There's been no pressure coming out from Smoothie and King. Their mid lane is already accelerated, and Yone, now that they can build Gale Force, incredibly dangerous, incredible threat range coming out from this character on both the side lane and also just their ability to engage a lot of these fights, get their way onto King and Ryoma later on. And their top lane gets to play the game, which is not something we were expecting.
No, he's actually having quite an easier time now. He was able to get a good amount of damage back onto Surdy. I think all of it does stem from getting that kill earlier on. That did alleviate some of the pressure that Quinn normally has 1 through 6, where Renekton really struggles into that matchup. But a bigger thing that we kind of have to talk about here for EGC is look at how pressured Jaden is. He tries to go for this play here in mid lane. He gets bounced around, pulls back. He will die. The flash away. JJ goes golden just in the nick of time. But Perry's going to die to the turret. Should be traded back. Double kill picked up by Ryoma. And that answers my question. What does EGC get back in this game? Well, 2 kills for Nazir is going to help.
Yeah, that's really big. They were doing such a good job at preventing Ryoma from playing earlier on, but that could be some of the more chaotic combos we have been seeing, right? One of the things that Cincinnati Fear is so good at is all clean the same play, but the thing about that we oftentimes don't talk about is what happens when those plays are on the wrong side.
Phillip, dominance popped. That was very close. So he was playing on a knife's edge there, and Smoothie here as well. The static shift to help clear out this wave. So go for the pull, the flash in, does go for it. But Phillip getting a lot of damage back, call the make, the turret helping out a lot. Smoothie's low, but the ignite, the walk away kill for Smoothie. Hey, Smoothie, right there. 2 plays that he's had in the last minute have been huge plays for EGC.
Yeah, helping out across the map. We get to see this again. We were talking about the communications, right? When everybody's on the same page, it's really tough for somebody to say no, and this is a spot where they go so deep. Ryoma just has an easy scoop on the rest of the team, and Smoothie's there as well.
Ryoma flashing away, does survive that time around, but again, his flash is gone as the Rift Herald has been pumped in mid lane. Despite the fact that there were these good plays from EGC, Fear are still being very proactive on the map, and as you said, they're a team that doesn't necessarily know when to hold off, when to stop a play, and sometimes it works out because they got a lot of gold, even more so for Shochi, who's 0-1 on this Yone and has completed his Gale Force.
Once the Gale Force is complete, it's so scary, right? You just have so much extra threat range across the map. Every time you go for something, it's like, oh, now I'm just on top of you again. Having an extra dash built into my character, that's pretty cool. And so, Cincinnati Fear, as I start setting up, one of the big things that we will be looking at is later on in the game, they are going to be having range problems, right? If they aren't able to get these fights started,
Pull back, that's going to be the Fate Seal. They got a lot of damage on Ryoma, and they do pick up the kill, even though Shane tried to help. It all falls apart for EGC, and that turret will fall as well.
See, I was talking about, like, yeah, maybe they won't ever be able to get to Azir. All right, Surdy will be fighting Phillip back, but I mean, Shochi just goes right on in. He's got so many dashes. He sees the ultimate underneath the turret and raises it, a Fate Unsealed on the other side of it. And I thought he might die there, but he just got so much damage still in the tank. Perry shows up at the right time. They find a 2v2 kill. And look at this. Perry instantly goes top lane to help out Phillip. But here, this looked like a good opportunity, right? Both these mid laners have 2 kills. Both these mid laners do a lot of damage. But a great move coming out from Shochi to have the Soul Unbound in order to get a little bit of extra damage, a little bit of extra movement. It saves him so much because he always has the opportunity to just back out of the fight if he needs to.
And the fact that Shochi had his Mortal Steel dash up right at the nick of time, so he could dash over the wall and get that ult as well. It almost felt just like one of those plays that Ryoma, you understand why he wants to go for the play, because that's a lot of gold you can pick up off of Shochi, but nobody else was around to help him out. Shaden was still going for a long wraparound around the river in order to look for that gank in mid lane, which gave Perry plenty of time to go into the mid lane, help out the play, and they pick up 2 kills. And then after that, not only do they get that turret in mid, they're going to get another Rift Herald for Fear. They've swung this gold lead from where it was within 1,000 between the two to now ballooning to almost 3,000.
Yeah. I also got to feel for Phillip a little bit as the caster that plays the most top lane.
Yeah, this is going to happen over and over again. Even though Phillip does pop the dominance, they've got Smoothie here to eat a lot of the aggro. It was a clean dive, but the flash away from Surdy Gotta be careful. And he gets tagged barely by the ult with the Moonlight Vigil on exhaust. Manui makes sure it's an even trade.
Wow, the Cardinal Sin coming out from Surdy, flashing in that straight line. Still gets caught by the ultimate from JJ, and it's at the perfect time. Cincinnati Fury don't care about their top laner. Nobody important died. We have this dragon to take. We got the one person on Evil Geniuses who does damage on this side of the map, and Smoothie still getting blocked out on the bottom side. Means that it will be another trade of turrets as well. Even though it's a 1-for-1 in kills, 1-for-1 in turrets, it is going to be an extra dragon coming out for Cincinnati Fury as well. This one is super, super helpful for their dives, but they've also rolled a really good map.
That is a very good one. Not only the mobility it now provides for Cincinnati Fury to move around the map even faster, but having a Hex Tech Soul too, going to help out a lot with those chase down potentials. You talked about the range that EGC have over Fear. Well, it gets a lot more difficult when you're getting chased down by a Hex Tech Soul on Fear, especially right there. It's flash away. King really trying to get distance from Shochi, but Shochi got so much damage dashing forward. He wants this kill, and he'll take down King. I can't believe it. And Shaden was there to try to stop it, but you cannot beat Shochi.
I hate this champion. What? He just ults, he completely whips it, he still kills King. Ryoma comes in with an ultimate, he still kills King. That's crazy stuff coming through from Shochi. We get to see the same kind of style coming out that got him 17 kills in their series yesterday, just picking up exactly where they left off, taking down King. And I mean, we are already seeing the same kind of pressure coming out from Cincinnati Fury that won them their games yesterday. I think this is a great example of when Evil Geniuses start falling behind, it's really hard for this team to start coordinating. Players start getting picked out a lot more on Evil Geniuses. And this is speculation on my part, but I'm guessing that they just stopped talking, right? People stop coordinating as to where it is that they're supposed to be, because Shane coming around for this play doesn't respect that there's a bunch of people behind him.
No, and now doesn't respect that there's a play here in the top lane or the mid lane, because Manui gets himself caught out. And it's going to be a nice pick there for EGC once they eventually get it, but they do lose Shaden in the top lane at the same time. So shutdown gold picked up by Zerdy, but at the trade of not only a kill, but a top lane tier 1.
Yeah, and that's going to be that little bit of extra. You always got to get the +1 on the backside. We saw a lot of years coming out of Manui on his character by pressing that Q, but Evil Genius is still able to take them down. And here's a collapse coming out from Cincinnati Fear all around the map.
They're just all over the place. How do you even deal with this if you're EGC?
Hello.
They're everywhere at one time, and you cannot stop them, EGC. Cincinnati Fear putting the fear of God into EGC.
Yeah. And I love this coming out from Cincinnati Fury. They're just going from late. Perry went top lane, got a kill, went mid lane, got a kill, goes bot lane, drops a Rift Herald, gets a bunch of money for his team as well. Cincinnati Fear just skyrocketing. Remember how we were learning from 1 to 2K? Now we're at almost 6.
Jeez, man, this is getting unreal here for Cincinnati Fear. And we kind of were talking about this composition. As long as they get ahead and they're always proactive, it's really hard for EGC to do much to them. And right there, look at this dive. You even have Poppy, something that is meant to stop all that dive and stop all the dashes, couldn't do anything.
And so, I mean, Cincinnati Fear, they're kind of running away with this game. It doesn't look as though Evil Geniuses has gotten tall enough just quite yet to try and deal with this. It is worth noting that Sturdy, with a really, really good counter pick, is just doing okay, right? That is partly, we can attribute that to Philip playing this Renekton decently well, but we can mostly attribute that to Perry coming top lane super consistently to help him out. We can also look at the fact that some of the players that we have been kind of hyping up a little bit more in Ryoma and King haven't yet been able to get anything done.
Well, right now, Philip, that is 3 members sent into the bot lane. And this time, they're trying to make sure that Zerdy is going to be set up for success, giving him a kill, his 3rd one of the game. Should be able to crash that wave, but what happens on the other side of the map is going to be the real answer, because look at King and look at Ryoma. How far back they have to play. As Shochi was even attempting a dive, had that bait sealed connected onto Ryoma, he was dead.
Whew. Just He just goes. That's unit gameplay at this point. It's like, oh, did I get it? Yeah, you're dead. Oh, no. All right, I'll see you later, right? Like,
Gosh, he's already got 2 items.
He's got 2 items.
Yeah, he is so far ahead of the curve right now. Even here, he just dashes away from everything EGC try. And then Manui nearly 1v1ing King in the jungle. So the rest of the team can continue to lord control over this top quadrant of the map.
And Cincinnati Fear also have plenty of time. They have so much control. They have so much extra gold. I thought they were going to go for the Dragon, but no, they're just hitting the Baron at 20 minutes. Philip isn't here. He actually just committed a teleport to the far side of the map, but Ryoma isn't able to move here either.
King was on the bottom half, but Fear are going to respect that even for them, even with how far ahead they are, that was a bit of a cap play. That is very bold as well. But Philip instead, as you called out, had TP'd into this bottom half of the map. So instead, they'll just go back to the Dragon and get themselves within soul point.
Did you call it a cap play?
Yeah.
All right, I respect it. Would you call it acidic? Because it's not based.
Yeah, actually, that's a good call out. I would probably call it acidic because it was definitely not based.
Cool. Would you call it illegal?
I don't know if I'd call it illegal. it would have been illegal had they actually gotten it.
All right, yeah, that would definitely have been illegal. Shochi getting a couple of extra spots his Q.
He lands it, and Ryoma dashes away, but he wants this so bad. Look at that, chasing forward. The rocket connects. It will be traded back, and somehow the shutdown gold does go over to Ryoma.
It was Ryoma's turret that did actually get the kill, and now Cincinnati Fear considering doing this Baron again. Not going to be committing for it at this point, but still. I mean, Shochi, he's having a good time at this point, but that is 1,000 gold that they do give over. They're up to 6K, and now they're looking for another fight.
Flash away from the members of EGC just to get away from that attempted play. Even if Surdy is in the bot lane, getting some comeback gold for the team with that bouncy on the tier 1. Like I said, Shochi was kind of having fun there. He gave a good swing of gold back over to EGC. That 6,000 it was kind of cresting towards has been shrunk just slightly to about 3,500 for Fear, but they still got a lot of power. Shochi, once he gets back onto this map, he's got TP that he can join in the fight if a fight does break out for Cincinnati Fear.
Yeah, doesn't have ultimate just quite yet, but he's going for, I mean, he's already so strong. He's going to be super difficult to take down, especially once he completes the shield bow that it looks like he's building towards. And Cincinnati Fear, they have the tools to push up in his side lane, meaning that Surdy, a lot of his pressure on this Gwyn has been neutralized. They have the ability to collapse super heavily, and one of the things that's super scary is both Perry and Shochi's ults are really low cooldowns. We're talking about a minute at this point, and they will get lower, right? These are all going to be things that they can just go fishing with, right? You don't even have to go for fights every single time. You just have to check and see, it's like, oh, is this guy paying attention? Yes? All right, cool. We'll be back in a minute. No? Well, let's just hit the Baron.
All right, so red, white, looking for that Baron. They've even got the TP committed from Shochi to make sure that all 5 members here TP from Ryoma get towards the pit. And that is getting low fast. The flash away from King. The soul's bound. He's already back. The dash in from Shaden. Fight goes the way of EGC. The fight afterwards. They got a double kill for Surdy. They're taking down EGC. They found the play they needed to off the back of Shaden, stealing away the Baron, and Surdy once more. He's already got himself a triple. He would like to get the quadra, but it looks like it's going to be Cincinnati Fear out of there, and EGC with the Turo Baron buff.
Oh my god, out of nowhere, Evil Geniuses come right back on in. Shochi overextends, and Evil Geniuses snapping right on back. So much pressure coming out from Surdy. Ryoma once again in, and King, I mean, it's everybody in this play coming up really big. The fact that Shaden uses that ultimate, knocking Perry away. The Cincinnati Fear, they don't recognize that in time. They are continuing to hit the Baron, and they're just all knocked right on up by Ryoma. A 4-man ultimate, but we gotta praise Shaden for that, right? We were talking about this before. Cincinnati Fear, when their comms are as chaotic as they come, nobody's there to say, stop hitting the Baron. Our jungler's been booted out. We need to pump the brakes. Cincinnati Fear are also 1 dragon away from picking up the Hex Tech Soul. And as Evil Geniuses start to push up, there are so many angles for Cincinnati Fear to go for big flanks with the Hex Tech Dragon.
And look at how the gold is swung. 6,000 gold. That was Cincinnati's Fear lead about 3 minutes ago. Now it's almost 1,000, favoring that of EGC after that play. And honestly, got to give props over to so many members of EGC with that last play to get themselves the Turo Baron buff, right? Yeah. Nice push there from Ryoma, split up Fear as well, like you called out. Shaden not only knocking away Perry, but also Smite securing the Baron. Smoothie too, making sure to keep King alive and keep Shochi at bay so that the big person on Fear couldn't really get the damage necessary onto the proper targets.
And now, as we see Evil Geniuses using the Turo Baron buff to try and create a little bit of pressure across the map. They are still creating a lot of pressure, but Perry
looking for Surdy, but he just uses the Gale Force away from the ult. Surdy's going to be fine, and all the while, EGC in the bot lane looking to collect more gold as they topple another structure.
Suddenly, the fortunes of Evil Geniuses in this game have turned on its head. So much is going to happen in this next fight.
Smoothie going to be the target. Getting a lot of damage to flash away as well. They've even got the knockup. Look at the burst of damage on Shaden. Shaden, he's still alive. It's going to be traded back and forth, and they got Jinx excited. They're looking to chase down Philip, popping the dominance, but pulled back in. Another kill for EGC. Shochi could not pick up Surdy. Instead, it's a double kill for King. EGC yet again find the fight properly, getting the chase down, the flashes away from Cincinnati Fear, so they cannot stop the Turo Baron buff push.
Yeah, Evil Geniuses, they should be able to go pick up a couple more structures, a couple more objectives. This Hextech Dragon is available, but again, we are seeing the exact same problem coming out from Cincinnati Fear. As soon as the fight starts, they aren't able to turn. They take a look at this ultimate from Ryoma. I called it out at the beginning. Ryoma was absolutely insane in this fight, the amount of damage that he's able to do, and everybody on Cincinnati Fear, nobody is able to back away because everybody is baiting each other forward. Once you get the resets to King, then he gets to have a turn. He gets to go big, and Shochi, I mean, he started off this game 6-1. He has died twice since then and has not been able to pick up a kill.
No, and now it's 3,000 gold lead that EGC lord over Fear. The Baron buff as timed out now. And with a Hextech Dragon picked up by EGC, that also denies a very powerful tool from Cincinnati Fear, which could have been that Hextech Soul. That's not going to be up for another 4.5 minutes. And we talked about it before, Josh. EGC's composition, it's got scaling elements with that Jinx and Azir. They're both on 3 items now. They're at that point where even if you're ahead, if you're playing this Yone, getting on top of that Jinx, it's going to be so hard to actually kill her before she kills you.
Yeah, this is some of the biggest spikes coming out for Evil Geniuses at the perfect time. Philip very far away, as it is so difficult at this point for the members of Cincinnati Fear to try and make these plays happen. We haven't seen them look for any kind of flanks. That hasn't really been the purview of Cincinnati Fear so far throughout this split. They've been really focused on trying to find these small angles as people line up the dance.
Zerdy wants to chase Philip, but Philip was able to get back over the wall. And Zerdy is another player that we kind of have to praise in this game. The new player of EGC, brought in just yesterday, first day that we got to see from him, and did well in the lane phase. It was the team fights we were asking him. Now, I got to put that on pause. King had to flash away, but he's followed up by Shochi. That's the problem. Nobody was peeling for King, but you still got JJ pretty low and Zerdy. The other marksman on the other side. The flash is away from EGC with Ryoma so low. Philip wanted to chase it, but a Shurima shuffle out of there. They're still going to be the pick for Cincinnati Fear. 50 seconds left until that Baron spawns, but look at Perry chasing down pretty far, denying these easy resets out of EGC. Might even be able to get a straggler here in Smoothie, who's got no way out of this one. He used the depth chart, just tried to escape, but they got the stun, the lockdown, the Spider-Man away, the follow-up damage. They're chasing really far.
Oh my gosh,
Kill, and now they exhaust out of Shaden. But Shaden, he should be able to get back towards this turret enough. He'll stay safe, but at Fear, they got another pick, and again, the Baron's gonna spawn here in just 20 seconds.
Yeah, JJ should have to reset, but the rest of Cincinnati Fear, that's a lot of money they just picked up. A lot of ults, a lot of summoner spells expended on both sides of the map. And now, Cincinnati Fear, they are already posturing to do this right on spawn. They have a lot of damage. Smoothie will not be available. And JJ, he gets there super fast with the base gates already coming through.
Well, I'm looking at Shaden right now. Keeper's Verdict is not up just yet. It should be up momentarily. 50% on the Baron. Waiting it out, but he is focused away by Fear. Tries to dash back in. This time he couldn't snipe secure it. He'll fall as well. Fear, they clamp back a nice gale force away from Surdy to survive. But Fear, they've got what they were denied in the previous fight, and that is the Turo Baron buff.
And now as Cincinnati Fear, they're starting to move together once again. Oh, wow. The game in this one has been absolutely insane, going back and forth from both sides. Evil Genius is not able to recreate their previous success.
Oh, that was so close from King, too, with the rocket. I didn't even realize how close it had gotten.
Yeah, the rocket right there. Shaden not quite able to get close enough. The big thing here, there's still so much range coming out from King, from Ryoma, in order to control a lot of these fights. It's going to be on Fear. We've seen teams like Team Liquid do this successfully, where they will take effectively no poke at the beginning. But the thing that Cincinnati Fear now need to do is they need to find ways to interrupt Ryoma and King. If they're just able to free hit during these fights, it doesn't matter how fed Shochi is. It doesn't matter that Minui is on 3 items. They're just going to get outranged.
And this is where your eyes, instead of going to them, have to go to Smoothie for EGC. He's been playing quite a game, actually, today. And we haven't really been praising him enough with how much he's done to get EGC even in this position, to have the game as close as it is. And as long as he can keep one of either Ryoma or King alive in this next fight, that can be enough. The range you were talking about, Josh, that can help EGC push back Fear and win this game.
Yeah. Ryoma did lose the crown there, but 30 seconds left until the Hextech Soul. Definitely more important than the Turo Baron buff in a lot of ways, because Cincinnati Fear, they're not going to be able to siege their way through an objective ever. They are going to have to do it with a dive at some point. Now they're looking.
Denied, though. Just going to be pushed back with only a couple seconds left until the Hextech Dragon's up. That's what Fear wanted. They wanted to get these lanes collapsing at one time, pushing back towards EGC so they can peel back, they can burn down this dragon, and Hextech Soul. That allows so much more chase down potential for Fear that's going to be really difficult for EGC to overcome.
A nice try from King trying to steal that with the rocket. That would have been a huge boon to them, but Minui.
Oh, Minui got a lot of damage there on a King. Nearly sniping him down as well with the red buff helping out. That got really close, and with King now focus out of here.
That might be a tower.
That could just be the inhibitor turret here mid lane. Keeper's Verdict gonna punt 2 away though. 2 crucial frontline members of Cincinnati Fear. That will keep the turret alive.
And a clutch minion preventing Shochi from getting hooked by Smoothie on the backside of that. Good combination from Shaden to make sure that the turret actually survives. But the last bit of the Turo Baron buff comes through. Can they get the structure?
They should be able to get it. Now they got the front line here. First turret's gonna fall, the inhibitor in mid. They're looking for the inhibitor as well, but EGC, they're just watching, waiting for their moment to strike. Glacial Prince gets a double knockup with the flash away. They've got the damage. They got Smoothie locked up. There goes your front line. EGC no longer can rely on the front line to peel back for King, so they all have to make sure they get back to the base instead.
Yeah, we saw that neither Ryoma nor King were able to find a safe pocket. Shochi is able to dive so deep in these fights. Also, as the Randuin's completed, he's got enough damage. He's not worried about that. He just needs to blow people up during these engagements. So Perry does spot out Ryoma, but not going to be finding anything else. And so 2.5 minutes left until the next Baron. Cincinnati Fear built up the gold lead for themselves. Should be in a position where they probably want one of these big buffs to try and end the game, to try and punch through any potential dive that they need to make. And with these base gates, they have opportunities to go for inventive angles in order to pick off someone like Surdy or Ryoma in the side lanes.
I think they have to have at least the Turo Baron buff if they want to win this one. The range on EGC that you're talking about, it's so difficult for Cincinnati Fear to start cracking some of these turrets without that. We already saw the mid lane that they were struggling with the Turo Baron buff. So without it, I don't think there's a chance that they can get any more. That's going to be some time. I think both teams now just going to wait it out, farm up a couple more items, see what they can complete before these next fights, because look at the inventories that we have. Nearly full build for Surdy here in this top lane, and then the GA for Philip gives them even more ability to get into this backline to dive alongside Shochi and Perry.
Big thing that we have been seeing time and time again is how well do they sync up? Are they going to be over diving into incredible damage coming out from Ryoma? Philip trying to find a bit of a flank, but as they cross in the top half of the map, they are going to be zoning out members Oh, that was Shochi going back to his soul unbound. I was like, Shaden just ult him? No.
No. Just snapping back as Fear
Reality.
continue to push back, and they found Shaden, who used the Keeper's Verdict away. The flash in,
Ryoma.
Glacial Prison connects, but the push back, Ryoma, he's got Shochi, but that's going to be dashed away. There goes JJ, but look at Philip on top of King, getting a lot of damage, and there goes the carry one, but Philip, he could die. The flash in, it's all Manui making sure they get the quadra kill, clean up the fight, while Surdy nowhere to be seen. Fear knocking at the door of EGC.
Every single time we see Cincinnati Fear go through, somebody's popping off with a big kill. Get Penta, get Penta!
They want the Penta. You know what? He's got the tag there. Surdy's so low, but he'll get back to the base. He does not want to give Penta, and Cincinnati Fear do not want to delay this game anymore. They want to take game 1 against EGC, even with Surdy threatening a potential fight there. They know they want to give the unofficial Penta, but it doesn't matter because game 1 victory is much more important.
I still can't believe it was a supporting character the entire time. Shows up at the very end. It's Manui that pops off. This was his arc at the very end to take everybody down. What a crazy game coming out from both Cincinnati Fear and Evil Geniuses. A massive blunder coming around the first Baron buff, and then another one towards the bottom side of the map, giving Evil Geniuses a lot of hope. But at the end of the day, Alex, they're still not tall enough to ride Cincinnati Fear.
It's hard when you have to make sure you're peeling for both your carries with so much dive on the other side, because one of those dives works out for Fear. Well, there goes all your power in your Azir and Jinx, and that's why Cincinnati Fear take game 1 over Evil Geniuses Challengers. Josh, we're going to toss to a break, and when we come back, we'll bring back Bazell for a Rally Cry halftime show.
The LCS Challengers League is brought to you by Turo, the world's largest car sharing marketplace. Find your drive.